Hi, everyone. My name is Joe Kelly. I am the program host with the Rochester Hills Public Library, and I would like to welcome you all to our program tonight with life coach Julie Koning. Is that correct?
Yes.
Awesome. Who will tell us how to get out of our heads and into our life purpose. But first of all, I would like to thank the Friends of the Rochester Hills Public Library for funding our many programs and for all of their fundraising efforts. We greatly appreciate their support, as always. Join us next Thursday, January 28th at 7 p.m. when we host the first Smart Towns program of the new year with Dr. Ellen King of Ascension Providence Rochester Hospital, who will present a brief history of vaccines. So register for that at calendar.rhpl.org. And for more info about Smart Towns programs, visit smarttowns.rhpl.org. And again, you may have heard me just briefly go over with our host here, but as the program goes along, you can all feel free to ask questions via the chat function. Audience will remain muted throughout the course of the presentation, but you can all feel free to ask questions via the chat function. I'll leave a brief message after I finish the introduction here, just to let you all, a message will pop up to let you all know where that chat feature is. And do mind when you're using it to, it will say that you're sending a message to someone. And if you want, everyone to see it, make sure that everyone is included. Just make sure you're not accidentally sending something like privately, and that way nobody else is able to read it. Just something that could happen that could be a little confusing. But with all of that out of the way, I want to let you know that the program will be recorded and it should be available 1 week from today on our YouTube page, and that link should be emailed to everyone on the registrants list. And now I will go ahead and welcome our guest, Julie Koning. Take it away.
Thank you. Thank you, Joe, for having me. And I'm excited to be here and such a great turnout. I will be sharing my screen a little bit, but I want us to be able to ask questions on the chat. I'll be looking for that. And the other thing is why I pull up the slides. If you are up to it, think about what you appreciated today, something that even the slightest little thing, something to get us in the good uplifted mood, and something that you're really, it could be something small, but put in the chat what you loved and appreciated that happened to you today, and even the smallest thing you could think of. And so I'm gonna pull up my screen here. Sunshine, yeah, being with your family. Okay, whoops. I changed the view again. Sorry about that. Okay, so the reason I came up with this topic, get out of your head and into your life purpose, is because I think I'm a lot of people are familiar with Eckhart Tolle. I think he says most of us are addicted to thinking. So and we have a lot of thinking, a lot's going on in our mind. We might get inspiration, dreams, thoughts. We want to be doing something, especially as time where we've had maybe more time to be sitting at home and thinking, or not. But how do we get what's in the head out into reality and into doing our life purpose? And so that's what we'll be going over tonight. So, and I just want you to know, my background is as a registered dietitian nutritionist. I've done that since 2009 or 2011 rather. I've been health coaching for a long time, and now I'm a professional life coach. I also do mindfulness practices, and we'll go over a little bit of mindfulness tonight as well. But just so you know, I'm not a licensed therapist, so counseling, but I've seen that for those who start to practice mindfulness and do meditation, if they've had trauma in their past life, some kind of trauma, or suffer from depression or different things like that, that's when stuff comes up, and it's good to be working with a therapist. I just wanted to throw that out there real quick. So So what we'll cover first, well, what does it mean to live in your head? What is your life purpose? So, and defining success, how do we know when we're on track? Identifying the limited thinking, moving forward, positive focus versus positive thinking. And let's think about what we need to do tonight. What do we need to do for our next, for the next things? So, I want to talk about myself first. So I want to talk about my transformational story, and I'm going to take this slide off in just a second so I can look at everybody and ask you questions. But I want to get a little personal about what I've started out with, and then where I'm coming now. So you can see that's my husband and my child and me, and then what I do now with Peace Body is helping others facilitate hearing their own inner voice and making their doing what they'd like to do and making that a reality. So it's an exciting thing to do. So I'm going to stop the share right now so I can see you. So everyone can see me. Yeah. Okay, good. Okay. So in the chat, I first want to know, do you know what your life purpose is? Do you know what your life calling is? Do you feel like you know what you want to do? You can say what it is, or you can just say yes, or you can say no or not sure. So no, okay. So no idea at all. Okay, so that's where I want to know where people are. Okay, good. Okay, great. So still figuring it out. All right, good. Okay, so that helps me. All right, so I'm 47, and when I was about in my teens, so I ended up getting diagnosed with an illness, chronic fatigue syndrome, or also known as myalgic encephalitis. And if you don't know, that can be severe. 25% of the people are bedbound, homebound, and it's I guess to describe it, it's like having mono and the flu and dementia, starting of dementia, and maybe like arthritis because it's also the fibromyalgia, all at the same time. So you can imagine it's a lot as a teenager. So I was starting off for that point. So my dream or my purpose, I felt, was, wanting to get married, have a baby one day, be able to work again, be able to drive a car. So that's where I was starting from. So as we go through, think about where you are right now. I mean, you might have huge challenges, or you might not, but think about, besides we're determining what we want to do, but once you determine what you like to do, you decide, you find out what's the gap, how big of a gap is that between you and your purpose, what you're calling. So I wanted to get back to doing things that I saw other people doing. So that was my first purpose, my first goal. But then it became wanting to give back. So I ended up getting well through learning different things. So I had to step out of mainstream medicine and open up to a whole world of the unknown. And I was like the biggest skeptic. I was like, what? Meditate? What's that? Yoga? I don't know. Herbs? I don't know. I have to look at that. So I basically, it's a mind frame too, when we're looking at what you end up wanting to do, right? So wherever we are now and where we want to go, we're going to have to expand and open up to something new. Because if in order to have something new or to create or do new things, we have to change the mindset as well. So when it comes to that, I had to do a lot of personal growth inside. So you think about, one of the things is your limiting beliefs. So that's why I will talk about that tonight too. So, but I guess one of the first ones is how do you know what your purpose is? I'll get back to that. So, and I just want to say that it makes a big difference in your your ability to be open to change, because right now and in this last year, right, a lot has gone on that had to make us change. And I predict that it will continue to do so in probably positive ways, but also in ways that we're not familiar with. So being comfortable with change, being comfortable with the unknown, but knowing what you love. So making it into that next part, which is trying to change the screen here, which is, what does it mean to be living in your head? What's the opposite of that? Okay, so I think one of the first places to start is to think about somebody you admire, or somebody that you like, or somebody that is doing something that you think you might like to do. So one of the persons I enjoyed listening to a long time ago, and I still like, is Joseph Campbell, who's since passed away. But if you don't know him, he studied mythology, studied people's belief systems from history to now, to when he was alive. And so I like what he said about living. Okay. So if you do follow your bliss, you put yourself on a kind of track that has been there all the while, waiting for you, and the life that you ought to be living is the one you are living. Follow your bliss and don't be afraid, and doors will open where you didn't know they were going to be. So what's the definition of bliss? So we might think that's like a higher level on the emotional scale, but it's starting to think about asking the question to yourself, what would I love, or what do I love right now? Where can I add value? And so coming up with that idea in mind is being your authentic self. So you can look at what you like to do. So you have to think about what do you love, what do you like to do, and so that will give you a clue into where your purpose is. And sometimes we get in our own way. Okay, so if you're feeling like, I still don't know, I'm unsure, it can be something really simple too, right? So and again, you don't have to know the answers. Like it's inside of you. Feel like, I really like to write. I want to write stories. I like helping people. I like thinking about new ways with like how farming practices should be, or I'm interested in animals, and so you start just brainstorming like all the things you like, and then it can lead you to, for example, maybe you learned Reiki and you thought, oh, I can do energy work, I can do that on animals. Oh, I like to write, I can volunteer for whatever organization, and I can put posts and help them and volunteer and write about it. I mean, it's just I think the limitations, we might not think all the different wonderful things we could be doing right now, but it's also the obstacles too. So let's the purpose, and again, I just stayed with Joseph Campbell for this, but we must be willing to let go of the life we plan so as to have the life that is waiting for us. And so thinking about what that is, and if you're really needing some for introspection, something you're looking for inside of yourself right now, I have a fun quiz to do. So if you can put your answers in the chat if you like, or you can just write it down for yourself, and I'll give the answers afterwards. Are you ready for a little quiz for self-introspection? Yeah, okay. So I'm going to have you just move your arms around and take a deep breath in and out And we're going to do a little bit of imagery here in our imagination. And the first thing that comes to your mind when I ask the question, that is the answer. So you can go ahead and either type it in or just write it down for yourself. So imagine, if you will, if you're outdoors and you're in nature and you're walking and you come upon an open field, and who is out in the field with you? If anyone, who is there with you? I'll give you a second. Put it in the chat if you'd like, the answer there. Now, the answer's old friend, husband. Now, as you're in the field, you're walking across the field and you come upon a tree line and you're going to go into the woods, and there's a path there. So you take the path and now you're in the woods. There's an animal that appears across your path. What type of animal is it? Deer. And it can be any kind of animal at all. Fox, rat. Okay. Nice. So fox, a wolf, a rabbit. Now, what do you do with the animal, if anything? Is there anything you do with the animal that has gone onto your path? Oh. Take a picture. Nice. Now you're going to continue on the path, and you come out into a clearing, and you see a structure. It's a place of some kind, something that somebody would live in. What does it look like? What is it? It could be anything from the smallest little thing to the biggest home or something that someone would live in. A small cottage, a hut. So, and it can be any size. So what do you see? Ranch-like home, modern chateau. Small, cute, tiny house. And hi everyone too, if you're just joining us. We're doing a quiz, and so you can just follow along. Like I'll explain the answers at the end, or the fun idea behind it. Okay, so now you've made your way closer to the home that you see, and you come up to the front door and you open the door and you walk in, and there before you is a dining room and there's a table. What is on the table? If anything, what is on the table? Candle, flowers. Maybe a bowl of fruit. And so now you're going to make your way into the kitchen, and you see a container that you would drink from. What kind is it? What would you be drinking from? Glass, pitcher. And once you know what's the something you're drinking from, that you would drink from, but what do you do with it? What do you do with that glass, cup, or pitcher? What are you now doing with it? Sniff it? Fill the glass or pitcher and drink. Nothing. Okay. And once you're done with the cup and whatever you've done with it, whatever kind of container it is, you're going to go out the back door, and you're opening up the back door, and you go out and you see a body of water. You see, and it could be anything from a puddle to a stream to a river, a lake, the biggest body of water you can see in the ocean. What do you see? Yeah, so the ocean. So, anyone else? Lake with mountains, small lake with a dock. Nice. Fountain flowing, right? Flowing river. All right. Okay. So let's go over it. So it's just a fun thing to start, feeling maybe where are we with our state, where are we with our forward thinking, what our expectations are, what we're hoping for the future. Okay, so for the and what our priorities are. So so the beginning, when you're out in the field, if anyone was out there with you, that is to signify who's important to you in your life. So if you have somebody important to you, a lot of times the person will see that person out there with them. And sometimes we don't see anybody, it could be just, out there feeling the glory of nature or the higher power. So, or whatever the person feels. So there's no wrong answers. Okay. But so the person that's important to you or people, when you're walking down the path, the animal can signify, the size of any current problem you might have, actually. So, or the type of problem, or I could say challenges too, or obstacles. Okay. So a lot of people said deer or rabbit or different things. So how do you feel about that? And then what do you do with it? Some say I take a picture, nothing, just appreciate it. So those are actually pretty good answers for, like, how do you deal with problems? You're looking at it, you're, thinking about what to do, you're appreciating, you're studying it, you're taking a picture, so it's kind of the idea from the unconscious mind, what we might be doing. So and then the home, or the what we're seeing there, might signify how we feel about our life right now. So how big it feels, or how confining it feels. So usually it's tiny doesn't mean that is negative. It's just where are we feeling, like how did we see it, and how do we feel about it? So if you liked what you saw, that's a good thing, right? But where we could have limits, just kind of thinking about that, or how expanded we are. And when you get inside, how the table often represents to people what's on the table, like what's on your table, how filling is your life, how fulfilled is it? So anything that nourishes you, the flowers, getting ready. I like the one that's interesting is the set for people to come, so you're preparing. So the person who told me this quiz a long time ago, he was a history teacher, and all of us do it, but he kind of he made a joke about the next one, because the next one is the cup is supposed to be your significant other. So and how you feel about the significant other or not. And if you don't have a significant other, it can mean like what you would want, or what you're expecting that you would have if you had a significant other. So it's like so drinking it, or, doing something with this good thing. The joke was, for the history teacher, was that one of the guys said, that the cup he saw was a Dixie cup, and what did he do with it? He crumpled it up and threw it away. So it was a big funny, haha. But then when you go outside, you can see this represents going out the back door and seeing the body of water represents where you feel you're going. So how big of the water is it flowing? Is it moving? How confident you feel about the potential of your future and what is going on in it. So the bigger it is, the more expanded and feels like the more possibilities and choices you might have. The smaller it is, might feel more you're unsure or limited. If it's moving, which most of all had the moving water, that was a good sign. That was a good sign. So did you feel when you took the quiz, did that kind of match up with where you're feeling right now, or not? Did it? Somebody's shaking your head. Yes. Okay. So it's just like a fun way to explore how we're feeling inside. So I had some handouts for tonight, but we had some technical difficulties. So what we'll be doing is they'll be emailed out to you after or by tomorrow. And but I'm going to show them now. So one, what is our purpose, our life purpose? And two, when we think we know what we'd love, what are the obstacles? What's getting in the way? And sometimes if we don't know our purpose, that in itself is the obstacle, right? So anybody have any questions so far? Or anything specific? Okay. So I'm gonna go back to the mindfulness practice. So one of the ways to help with the finding your purpose is to do some different activities. So let me get those up here. And self-empowerment. Sorry here. Oh. Okay. We're going to do the self-empowerment activity. You can think about, and so if you have a pad and paper, you can write it down, or you can just think about it. You can get it later and then take notes, but it's good just to be in a relaxed state and thinking about what comes to you anyway. So share my screen here, self-empowerment activity. Okay, so what we have is first write down your goal. So when we thinking about your purpose, you can look at what you think is that you want to invest in. So is it your vocation, a relationship, your health, or financial well-being? Like where is it, what would you need for your goals? But we're talking specifically about, right, your life purpose, or what you feel your purpose is. So when you're thinking of that, if you kind of have a clue of what that might be, you can write down your goal. Okay, so anybody want to share what they think they'd like to be doing differently? So we've gone through this whole year of everything happening, the lockdowns happening, the pandemic happening, life happening. We've got a new, a new government happening. We have all this stuff happening, lots of stuff going on, lots of changes. And in this time, what would you like to see in your mind? Where are you being called to add value to? What is in you that you like to do that you could add value? And it's something that you keep thinking about, or you've had when you were younger, and it's come back into your mind now during this time. Like, because if anything, what I feel like people, one of the biggest lessons from this last year has been to be yourself, to that there's no time like today, because we don't know what tomorrow is, right? So it's like about being and owning who you are and what you want to do and how you want to give it. And what's nice about finding that out is that a lot of times we worry about, oh, we don't have enough money, or we don't have enough time, or we don't have enough resources, or I don't know enough, or I have to get the education. Tonight it's about thinking that you have all of that, what is it you want to do? And I don't know if anyone paid attention to the lotto right now, but it's super high. So if that helps you get out of the way of thinking, like you could just think, if I won all of that, what would I be doing? What would I be doing if I won all of that? And so it can free and open you up to the potential, all the infinite potential of what you could be doing in this moment. And so then that would give you an idea of what you would love. I mean, just exploring like what's on the other side of that. It's like if all my bills were paid and everyone, all of my obligations were met, what would I be doing once the, like the after I was so used, having when I have this stuff, like, what would I be doing? What would I be doing? So like for example, my husband was saying the other day, he would be, like, if he had all of that, he said he wanted to go help in the community, like help with putting up lights different places or giving money to the fire departments in the city or like doing all of this different stuff. So because that's his, that's what he was thinking that was coming to him. So there's no wrong answer. It's just seeing what's inside of you that you would like to see and do. So once you have that goal, you want to write it down. You get specific about it. If anybody wants to share what that is, so someone how to make humanity a better place for all. No, I had to do it. Someone in MD won the Powerball. Oh, good. Learning Spanish on Duolingo, playing jazz, piano standards, traveling. Okay, steps back to part-time work through volunteering, something positive mutually, possibly environmental. Okay, so good. So you guys are thinking, getting that, those, the brainstorming happens. So sometimes when we want to do that too, is to just write unedited everything we could think of that we would love that's coming to us or that we're seeing. So you write down that goal. You don't have to know how to do it yet. This is just because I'm saying goal, but it's more like a dream, right? And your purpose. So goal, you might have ideas of how to accomplish, but might be bigger than that. Like I said with Joseph Campbell, if you know the path clearly, you're on the wrong path. It's like that is like open up and know that the trust that the answers are going to be forthcoming. So, okay. So wanting other goals covered. The goal is a new job. Okay. Wanting a new job. Okay. So you could write new job, fulfilling new job, right? Fulfilling new job. And you don't even have to know what that is right now. Or you're like, so you write down your goal, and then over time, you're going to get more and more specific, but you're going to ask yourself these next two questions. So the first one is, as you can see on here, what is the pain you expect if you make this change? The pain from the experience of making the change, or the pain you would experience if you did reach your goal. And I'll give you an example. So like, when I used to work in a different capacity, I went back to school and changed my whole of what I was doing. I was working as an administrative assistant for almost 9 years. I answered phones, did the secretarial work, all of that. I was always interested in health, and I would take classes and do that stuff. But I thought, you know what, I'm going to go back to school. So I made that decision, and I didn't even know what I wanted to do yet. So I graduated college. I went back and got my bachelor's degree, 20 years later after graduating high school. And what's wonderful now is that people of all ages go to school, and even there, a lot of things you don't need a degree. So you just figure out what it is that you want to do, and then you can see what do you need to do to get there. It's like doing the reverse engineering. But since we get in our own way, you have to think about what could be the obstacles or the pain that comes up in our minds, the discomfort, the oh no, if they had to change something to do something. So that might be like, again, I don't know enough and I'd have to learn so much and I don't have the time, or I would have to fit it in, and all of that kind of thing. So if you want, you can write down what it is that you think is in your way. What are the limited thoughts that get there? And the flip side of that is, what if you did reach your goal? What if you did get a wonderful job? What is it in your mind that you does that change something for you? Like if you were successful in that, would that mean that you had to be different in some way? Okay, so or cause. So I'll give an example of when I was worried about doing nutrition. So I started to do nutrition, and I went to school and became the registered dietitian and studied integrative functional medicine and did all of that. And then all of a sudden, and I have married, I had my child, I get, the dreams that I had, they come true, right? So then I just started doing a lot of meditation, a lot of mindfulness, a lot of getting out of my head. Okay. And so one of the things that had come to me was stop my my dietetics practice, the private practice, and seeing people, get a YouTube channel, go online, do everything virtual. This was in 2015. And so it says, so I felt like this time upon us was coming, giving, getting a little heads up about it. So my point is that when you start really honing in and opening up to what it is that you'd like to do, using that part of you that's that quiet spot and writing unedited, or learning meditation, doing that mindfulness practice, that can also help bring in what it is you're looking to do, and looking to see, oh yeah, so sorry, the pain of that was I did all of this. I spent all of my time. I made my business. It was doing well, and now I should stop it. Why should I stop it, right? But wasn't it the best advice? Wasn't it the greatest inspired information coming in for me? Because look at where we're at right now. Everybody's gone online. All of this stuff has happened. So it's starting to trust yourself, trust what comes to you. Okay, that is meaningful. So and so what is the pleasure you have experienced by not making this change or committing to the goal? So why are you where you are? So you want to change. You wouldn't be on here if you didn't. You want something different. You'd like to see different things in your life. What is keeping you where you are? There's always a reason that we stay where we are, for some kind of comfort reason, typically, or because we're wanting to prevent something or scared of something. So think about that. Think about, what if you had not be having what you would want to do with that. So think about, and that ability to eat what you want. That's if your goal were to change your diet, change your lifestyle, and healthy thing with that. So these can be just little things too to stay on track. So part of having the life purpose is taking care of yourself and taking care of the mind, body, soul, all the integrated parts of yourself, and looking at what is going to cost you if you don't change. What is the pain that will happen if you do not reach this goal? How will it impact your life, your career, your family? So if you don't step in to your dream, if you don't step into your purpose, what's that going to cost you? Thinking about, so much time from now, if you're thinking about looking back on your life. When my grandpa passed away in 2010, he had been through a lot. When he was born, it was during the Depression, and he remembers, all the different kinds of things that went on then. And he always was for family. He wanted to make sure everybody's well. He loved, taking us to different places and doing different things. My uncle, his youngest son, died of a brain tumor he had for 7 years. He died when I was 5. My grandpa's life wasn't easy. Okay. And so there was a lot that he did in his life. He wanted to see the world. He was always learning. He was always a student, but he at the end of his life, he said, if I were to do it all over again, the one thing I would change is I wouldn't have worried so much. Okay. So, and you can think he had a lot that he had to go through, as many of us do, right? But that's what he said. I wouldn't have worried so much. So when it comes to making choices, doing what you would like, a lot of times we're either stuck in the past, we're worried about, or we're thinking about things that have happened, or we're worried about the future, what could happen. So why I talk about mindfulness is that teaches us to live now in this present moment. And so what is the pleasure you experience when you reach your goal to reap the benefits? So obviously that's like expanding the mind open and like thinking about the future, but it's really about thinking about what would make it different from right now, and does it have to be different? Because it's not about when and if, because it was like, when I get enough money, I can do what it is I love. When I have a relationship I like, I'll be happy. When you know how that works. So it's not when I get something or something happens, then my life will be better. It's right now. It's thinking about right now, what that pleasure is, and then what when it changes, how much that would just magnify that pleasure, that joy, that internal purpose of well-being. So when it comes to that, I'm going to check okay, finish your book to work less. Okay, good. So when it comes to that, part of honing in on the purpose is having that balance in oneself. So taking the time and looking at what you want is really about having your priorities in place as well. So knowing what they are. So you can list what your priorities are, like at the top of your list, because when you're moving forward, when you're wanting to do your goals, you have to know your why. Okay, so one, I'll just recap real quick. You're gonna know your purpose, or have a general feeling of what it is you would like. Know what the obstacles are. So why you're getting in your own way, why you're keeping it in your head and you're not doing it. And so what can help a lot is knowing your why. Why are you doing it? So this is my grandma before she passed away last year in her 80s, and she had a stroke, and she was in bed with her stroke for for a long time. This is her first time out after a couple of years. And what she wanted to do, she wanted to go get a hamburger because she loved hamburgers. But this woman right here, she got married at 17. She had my mom right back in my mom was born in 7 years ago almost. So she came from, she had 3 sisters, and she went, had children young, but she was a woman before her time. She never let anybody say no. Like she knew she was enough. So about tonight, we're talking about you're enough right now. Okay, so what she did was she ended up having 4 daughters, but she went she'd always know what was inspiring her at the moment. And she thought, oh, I think I'd like to cut hair. That looks neat. And so she did what it took and became a cosmetologist. She had that for her whole life. She could always go back to that. But she ended up investing, finding the money, doing what it was she could do. She ended up investing in rental properties. She and my grandpa, she talked them into opening a lounge and had a restaurant. He passed away when I was young, but she ended up, as a woman, she ended up moving to Florida, and she ended up getting a shrimp boat. She ended up shrimping. She actually went, had a shrimp boat. I'm thinking of like Forrest Gump at this point, right? And then she opened up a deli at one time, and then she had her own business and for different things. But for her hair salon, she was in Florida, and she wasn't getting the business she wanted at one point. And so she said, everybody, $2 haircuts. So they were lined up out the door, and they even had a newspaper article written up to her, calling her an angel, because people were like, oh, I could get a haircut for $2. This is wonderful. But she was always looking for what was needed, not only for herself and how she could generate income, but it was passion. She thought out of the box, and she always looked for the underdog and helped them too. So she is such an inspiration to me. So she is my why to carry on, right? The legacy, and also my why is, my family, for us to do well, to be here at this time, and do what we can, right? Do what we can. So if that helps you, it gives you an example of what I mean when I say your purpose, or what your dreams are, or what to really don't let anything hold you back, because you can do it. She did it at a time where there wasn't a lot of support for women to do those kinds of things, and she did it. And so we're looking at feeling what's inside, and you have to it's good to get in touch with your own body and how you feel. And so that's where the mindfulness can come in. But whatever is going on, you are enough right now to take the first action steps, to do what it takes. You might have enough, period, to go after your dreams and do it right this second. So one is like knowing what it is, or a general idea. Again, knowing what's stopping you, writing it down, going through that process so you can get it out of your head, down on paper. And then the next step is to actually make a commitment to doing it. So you write it on the calendar, you say what the next steps are, and then you make a commitment to doing it. And if you don't do it, if you have to cancel it, the idea is by the third time you wrote it down, you really have to do it. But you can have somebody to help you and stay accountable, because why things get stuck, the other reason why things get stuck in our head is because we don't take it seriously. We don't realize how important it is. We don't realize that somebody is out there right now that needs us, that we have an idea, something that's come in that should be shared, that needs to be shared. Okay, because you wouldn't be getting this idea if it wasn't for you to get. That's what I believe. I don't believe in any accidents. I don't believe, that's my personal view. So whatever you are feeling tonight, but there's a reason why you're feeling that. And it's a good indication a lot of times is when you love something, that means you're on track with it. So yeah, my grandma, thank you. My grandma sounds amazing. She really was. I feel her all the time. I feel that she's definitely with me. So it is pretty cool about that. So I wanted to bring up on the screen practicing a growth mindset here. Okay, so let me pull that up right now. So, okay. So practicing a growth mindset is you can select your affirmations, okay? And so when you're looking for, if you're having a fixed mindset, right? So you're identified your limiting thoughts, your obstacles. And so now you're going to replace them. And it isn't like, oh, I need to think positively. It's like just reversing it to open up to the idea as good to do your to write it down. So again, your chances of success increase when you write something down. So again, doing the unedited writing, the brainstorming, looking at the obstacles, knowing how you're getting in your own way, and then practicing the growth mindset. So part of practicing the growth mindset is coming up with what it is that you would like to see. So like, for example, everyone has a fixed mindset to some degree. Now that I know the difference and I know I can change, now developing or shifted into a growth mindset. So challenges and risks and failures do not reflect that I'm a failure. They are opportunities for me to grow and improve. I'll send this to you, but you can think of any of the ways you want to not ignore. Don't ignore your the mind that says I can't. Say, I acknowledge you, I hear you, and this is how we're going to go about it. But let's look at it, reframe it, and look at it in this other way. Because if we keep pushing it aside and just think, I'm going to think positive, there's a reason why that was coming up. It's to protect you. So you either want to, usually it's like protect yourself from something, prevent something happening, or the worst is punishing yourself because you feel guilty. So it's like all these different things that can get in the way. If we acknowledge it, then we can, it helps you relax. It helps that part of ourselves that say, hey, you're doing something different. We shouldn't be doing that. And it helps that to quiet down. Okay, so you can move forward. So there's a lot of different things you can see on here that might apply to you because everybody's different. So you can see where you're acknowledging that side of you that's saying no or is critical or isn't sure or scared, and you're reframing it and saying, okay, let's start to move into that growth. Let's start to put some action in there. And the other part is I'll pull that up next, but let's see here. I'm just gonna take just a second to share the screen. Okay, it's right here. So the first one is so if you notice that your mindset, that you need to change it, that you have some limiting thoughts, that you have some fears, or the limiting thought is, I don't know what I want to do. That can be the limiting thought. Okay. So the next step is finding, ways to expand that view or to encourage the change, to facilitate the change. It's like trying to, if there's any behavior or habit that you have or had that you try to change, nothing works when you try, right? It's finally when you do. It's like learning how to ride a bike. You can try to ride the bike. You can try, you're getting help to ride the bike. You might be scared to ride the bike. You might be like, I'm all into it. I'm going to do it. You fall down, and then you're a person who gets back on, or you need help again. But it's when you stop trying to ride the bike that the person actually is now riding the bike. And this is the same way. It's the same way when we're dealing with the growth mindset. So we'll be in that time of learning and trying, and then when we're It just clicks and you're not trying anymore. You're actually doing. And so you can ask yourself, when the next time is the most, so at this point, you notice your fixed mindset, persona thinking, limited thoughts, and you've changed your perspective. The next time is the most important, and in fact is what truly makes someone have a growth mindset. The most important factor for developing a growth mindset is action. So you can ask yourself, what did you learn from the experience? Okay, you can always help the self that's worried by including that worry and say, okay, what did I learn from it? What can I take forward with what I'm doing? What could you do differently next time going forward when what you were doing, like you're learning how to ride a bike and you fell off, you fell down, like what can you learn from it? So it's this, I know that's a simple example, but that's what's hanging us up. That's what hangs us up with when we're trying to make changes and want to do our purpose is something happens and then we're like, nope, can't do it. What if we had the mindset of both, like, okay, something came up, but can I do that and still do this? So just trying to, these are just some simple questions. What would you achieve this goal? What would help you achieve this goal that you haven't tried? So thinking about that. So these questions are for once you get going and you're finding, oh no, something's not going right, to help you get back on track. So what do you need to learn, or what information do you need to gather? What steps will you take? So don't stop there. So you're going to identify the action steps. So list out the steps that you would take for each one, and then when you'll do it. Okay, so this is your action step, what you decided you're going to do, when you will do it, what you'll need, and what your expected outcome is. And even if that's different, so you can make changes as you're going forward. Does that make sense? So let's see. So I'm gonna. So what's helpful in bringing it all together is the self-care part and the mindfulness, or I say maintaining flow state. Okay. So if you don't know what that is, it's first understanding, your success. What indicators are you using to know you are on track with your inner calling? So there's lots of different ideas, right? Again, how do you know when you're on track and when you're off track? So thinking about that. So for example, if you're know that when you're not on track, what does that look like? And what does it look like when you're on track? So it kind of makes it a little hard when you don't know what your purpose is yet, but when you need to define so you know you're clearing on or off. So I'll give you an example with if somebody's wanting to be a different size, they feel their weight is more than it should be, and they'd like to get down to a size that their doctor and them are agreed is healthy for them. Okay, so if they go on a diet, the most likely going to be well for so long, they know what that looks like, and then they're going to go off of it and then they gain the weight back. That's the most common experience for an individual who struggles with weight. The reason is because diets don't work. Okay, so a lifestyle change works though. And lifestyle change means that person might need to go to figure out what's the root cause of why they might be coping with food, or why they don't take the time to cook or to do the things that they need to do. So they might need a coach, they might need a therapist, they might need a doctor, they might need all these different things, or like something, an accountability person, somebody at home, like everybody in the household needs to be eating healthy, because how am I supposed to eat healthy when they have the kids and all this junk foods in the cupboard? Okay, but wouldn't it be good if everybody ate healthy, but in balance, right? So So it's the same thing with this. If you want a new job, if you want to help those that you feel a calling to add value to in their lives of some sort, because we're all, the word help kind of gets us in trouble because it seems like might be better than someone. That's not the case. We have skills and talents and resources that are different. Everybody is different. And so how we can share them amongst each other when we're called, when we have a calling to do that, that's what we mean by help, right? So knowing what that means to be on track with that. So you know when you're on track and when you're not, and that's why I bring it up. Okay, so what are the indicators that you're on track and you're not? What are you doing when you're not on track? Are you daydreaming? Are you cleaning and you're cleaning all the time instead of writing that book? So again, what's your priority? So look what you do during the day doesn't match up to your priorities. So if my priorities is I want to publish that book, I want to write that book, but look what I'm doing all day. I'm doing all of these things, then that isn't your priority. You did not make it a priority. So where do you look to change? So just like with the eating, you would have to make a lifestyle change, something you're going to sustain long term. So like with writing the book or getting a new job, you have to think about what you need to do for that, and then look at what you're doing and stop doing some certain things. You can't add more onto your plate typically. You're going to have to get something to remove. So if you have a favorite TV program, you have a favorite magazine you like to write, you spend a lot of time on social media, guess what? Something's going to have to be chopped out of that day. So you can work on that resume, learn how to do great in an interview, write. Your priority is to write. So you have to figure out what your purpose is. And also, besides what we already talked about, the why and the obstacles and doing the affirmations and knowing what you're feeling inside, you have to know when you're on and when you're off and making a commitment to be on. That's really, and knowing the difference so you can stay on track. So how we can also do that is to practice mindfulness. So mindfulness is the practice of purposely focusing your attention on the present moment and accepting it without judgment. So that would be like, that's the helpguide.org definition. And so some other definitions to think about, mindfulness is actually your natural state of being. Paying attention to the present moment, experience, thoughts are representations of reality. Mindfulness is the actual experience. So if you're in your head and you're thinking too much, we're not in the now moment, in the life, right? And we might be, I mean, it might be just in our head, not doing the life purpose. We might actually be awake and mindful. But the point is that doing the practice of mindfulness can allow and assist you to make those changes, because what it does is it helps with the brain, neuroplasticity, ability of the brain to refashion itself with creating new connections of neural pathways. And what happens is that with the practice of, even if you were doing 5 minutes a day, or the idea is 20 minutes once a day, 20 minutes twice a day of some kind of meditation or mindfulness practice, it helps with this connection. But what it does for finding your purpose is that you're able to have to be more in an observer state of your life. Okay, so you're not reacting all the time to triggers, because there's a lot of triggers, right? That can happen, right? So when one starts to do this practice more, what I've found as well is that I'm more in the observer mode and not judging. I'm not criticizing so much. I'm not labeling so much. I'm enjoying, I'm fully taking it in. Okay. without resisting, because what you resist persists, right? So if we want to make the changes, this is one way of doing that. And so the idea is to stop to breathe during the day. And anytime you're feeling that angst or feeling that, oh no, I am worried, I can't do it, I'm not enough, I don't have enough right now, I don't have enough time, objections, any of the objections, if we can go to our breath and take a deep breath in and just blow it out through the mouth, breathe it in through the nose, and you did that 5 times, or you did it until you could feel the body to get out of that fight and flight response and back into a relaxed response. So these are just there's other ones, these are just some different ways of doing that, of doing the meditation or mindfulness. And so that's the ability to transform and do your work, because that's what it ends up becoming is, but it's good work, it feels good, but sometimes it doesn't, and it's challenging, and it doesn't see, but it's that choice, it's making that commitment to yourself and realizing what is holding you back. So identifying it is a needed part of that process. Does anyone have any questions? So when, let's see. So usually at the end, I like to take people through a guided imagery so that you can use this for your own practice to get in touch with, one, of how you're feeling, but two, spending time visualizing what it is you'd love to see is very powerful when you start aligning and getting on the same page with your subconscious and your operating system, why you do what you do, and how and what you'd like to see in your life. And so if you'd like, so I can do that now. And basically you can do this yourself at any time, but you'll I like to count down to 0, and then you can think of where you want, what you would like to see in your life, like where's your purpose, what changes would you like to make, and even if you don't know, you can see the people you enjoy being around, that type of feeling where you're safe and well and have that well-being and that goodness in your life. And so if you're ready, you can get into a comfortable position and close your eyes. And you can just feel your feet on the floor and feel your body. So this would be a practice of mindfulness. And you can feel how the weight underneath your feet or underneath your seat, or if you're lying down, how that feels. And just feel how you are doing inside. And then you can bring your attention, when you're ready, to your breath and close your eyes. I'm going to take a deep breath in and out. Now I'm going to count down from 10 to 0. And when we get to 0, you'll be seeing an extraordinary place, a place where you love. It could be anywhere, a real place or in your imagination. 10, 9, 8. As I count down, you're feeling more and more relaxed and open to the infinite possibilities that can be in your life. 6, 5, 4. You're really just feeling your breath in and out. 3, 2, 1, 0. And in this place that you see, You may see the faces of those you love, or somebody new that you think is just wonderful and smiling at you. You might be on a beach. You might be in with nature. You might be somewhere where it's very cozy and warm and nice. The temperature is perfect, and you see yourself relaxed or happy and energetic. You need to see the most amazing light is surrounding you and everyone and everything. And in this place, it's safe and it's well. And you're doing and seeing exactly what you love. And it feels good. And it feels good here. And ideas can come here. Ideas that you didn't even know were possible can come into your mind now. Because you are fully supported here. Life supports you. Your breath and that's breathing you supports you. You can feel that everything is going well because it is. And you can come to this place anytime during the day or night. You need to feel the power of being in this now moment, in this place that is truly yours, is truly the gift that you have inside of you, the gift of changing your perception, changing your mind, reframing, feeling the power within, that anything and all things are possible, that is, we're open to new ideas, new ways of doing things. And as that time spent here, feeling that goodness, the joy, the peace, the prosperity, the tranquility, that all is well, because it is in here, that we can bring this forward into our waking day, into our life, into having that time and feeling of smiling, of knowing we are so loved inside, in this place, in this wellness, in this being, that we can share that of what we are, which is love, and bringing forth what we love into the world, into reality, into our space, into life. What we have inside of us is important. Our words are needing to be heard. And you have that permission to be yourself, to give joyously, and know that you are enough, that you have enough right now, that you have enough to take those first steps, to do what it takes, to be brave. Now see that you are feeling more and more confident in knowing that whatever you need is going to show up, is going to be there, having that kind of faith and that life supports you. And when you are ready, you can slowly come back to the room, and I can count you out if you like. And on the count of 5, you can open your eyes. 0, 1, 2, 3, and on a count of 5, you'll feel relieved, relaxed, and ready to do what it is that you're called to do in your inner self and your inner being. 4, 5. So I hope that this is something that you'll consider, if you don't already, to do guided imagery, or to meditate, or to do some sort of mindfulness, which is just purposefully doing relaxation and seeing what you see and notice what you notice in the now moment. And it's shifting our state. It's what we think creates feelings, and feelings influence our decisions, and our decisions affect our life. So it can be the quality of our questions we ask, right? But it's also what we spend time thinking. So when we're doing more of the mindfulness, we're doing less of the criticizing, judging, thinking about the past, worried about the future, and we're in this now present moment, and you're going to have a more stream of ideas come through, and you're going to feel really tend to feel more in present with those ideas and more confident with them as well. So then you're able to go about your day and write them down and make those plans and put it on the calendar and go to the next steps. Oh, you're welcome, Liz. So if anyone has any questions or specific things that they'd like to ask specifically, feel free. But those are, yeah, I have to leave now. Thank you, beautiful spirit. Thank you. Thank you. So, and yeah, so I think, it's been probably an hour and 20 minutes, so that's probably plenty of time. But if you'd like, I can keep going.
We can keep going a little bit if you want. I was just typing out a question in
Sure.
But I was just also wondering if you felt like these mindfulness practices and like meditation practices, if you thought maybe there was either in general if they help, or if you thought maybe there's a particular one that might help, like with getting to sleep, because I know a lot of people might be having trouble with that lately.
Right, getting to sleep. Sleep is one of the pillars of health. So looking at that in general, there's lots of things we can do for sleep. You might want to look at what, if we're having trouble falling asleep or waking up in the middle of the night, and how that might be related to a health problem too. But in general, doing the mindfulness practice, that's exactly what helped me with insomnia back in the day when I had the chronic fatigue syndrome too, was learning how to meditate. And so I did similar to like the counting one I just did, but I would start at 100. And I would say, by the time I get to 0, I'm going to be in a fast asleep and, fully relaxed. And I would, count my way through it. I had to do it every night for a couple of weeks until it really started kicking in more and more. But I did it. The point is being consistent. So whatever you choose, you're consistent, you're regularly doing it. And that's where you'll find the benefit. It's just like exercise. So exercising this part, doing that some sort of purposeful activity helps with it. It did for me. I had tried everything when it came to sleep. I tried sleeping medication. I tried homeopathics. I tried the warm baths. I tried the teas. I tried everything. And honestly, meditation was actually what helped me be able to, I can go to sleep quickly. Now in times in my life where I keep waking up in the middle of the night, like after, as I've been older, I found that it had to do with my hormones and my cortisol levels. So I had to address that. This is different, but yeah, good question.
Anybody else, if you think of a question, feel free to go ahead and ask. I know there are a couple of, because I think for some people, like it might sound a little daunting to start doing like a mindfulness exercise like that at home, but like, what do you think are something that you might recommend is like a pretty easy?
Yes.
For my household, my girlfriend started when she was kind of getting a little more into mindfulness stuff. She started to get like using adult coloring books and things like that.
Mm-hmm. Right. So, and I'll answer your question. I just want to tell Nancy before she gets off, she is exercise, a mindfulness exercise. There it depends on what it is. So like yoga, Tai Chi, Qigong are all meditation in motion. So that would be an example, because a lot of times people do exercise like lifting weights and doing things, but their mind is somewhere else. They're listening to music. They're all scattered. Mindfulness is about being fully in them as much as you can, but in this moment, so your thoughts aren't going everywhere. You're with what you're doing. So you could even do, to answer your question, Joe, is to like you could do brushing your teeth. Like the whole time you're brushing your teeth, your mind's, you're not going off thinking about you, because thoughts will still come in, but instead of entertaining them, you're just going back. How does the toothbrush feel? How does it taste in my mouth? How, you know, so you can pick an activity, a short activity, because our brains don't want to stay on it when you're not used to it. And like when you're going for a walk, you're like, okay, if you're in the town and you're walking blocks, for the next 2 blocks, I'm just going to be present, seeing what I see, but I'm not judging it or labeling. I'm just going to take it in and see it. An easy one to do at home is to start naming everything in your room, like dresser, chair, picture, carpet, you know, and you're not judging it. You're just saying what you see. So it's taking you out of your thinking head, and you're observing. And you can also do it with sound. Like you can close your eyes and just think all the different sounds you can hear, and you'll notice that there's sounds that have been there all along, but you weren't hearing them. So those are simple things to get you out of your thinking space and into the space of what you're seeing, what you're perceiving, the other senses.
So I think that's great advice.
Yeah.
Any other questions from anyone? It's like people are winding down. Maybe they got too relaxed. I followed along with that, and my cat, who wanted to join me up here, like on this chair by me, just passed out. He walked right out.
Oh, so
Yeah.
I think it's so back in the day, before they used the buzzword mindfulness, we used to just call it, you know, being in the now, being awake. And it's just it's really your natural state. So it's like a heightened state of awareness, but without judgment and without you know, so you're starting to use thoughts for tools instead of letting your thoughts run away with you. So that it's nice. So there's lots of good books at the library about mindfulness.
Okay.
But yeah, it helps with coaching. So like I've taught mindfulness. I teach mindfulness. So there's many ways to learn it. You can, YouTube, videos, books, a coach.
There's exercises like Tai Chi and stuff, and there's a lot of great little simple videos that just kind of get you into practicing like simple things that you can take and then go forward.
Right, exactly. And even learning your life purpose, right? So if I know there's lots of books about taking charge of your life. So, and depending on what the person's needs are, from a spiritual sense to just looking at business or bringing it all in together. There's so much written on the subject, right? So it's finding what resonates with the person.
Definitely. I think this has been a good night, a good talk. I think we can go ahead and like transition towards ending the presentation. If are there any final words you wanted to share with everybody when you head out?
Just that I think it's vital and important at this time to be your authentic self and know yourself, know yourself as much as you can, because to know yourself is to be in shallow waters, right? But to to become that observer of yourself and really see what your dreams are, what your passion is, what your purpose is. And because now is the time to do it. It is. We're being called to serve, to be of value, to add our gifts, and everybody has gifts. It's just that we think we don't. And it's time to get out of our own way and to do those and to share that side of ourselves, because what we want to see in the world is most often what we could change about ourselves. We should, be what you want to see, basically.
That's a wonderful thought. All right, well, I will go ahead and say thank you all for joining us. And thank you again, Julie, for this wonderful presentation. To everyone who joined us, we hope you have a great night, and we hope you'll be back here. Again, like I said, we have a wonderful presentation on the history of vaccines next week, next Thursday night. So register for that if you haven't. And I will go ahead and just say goodbye and thank you for joining us. Thank you, Julie. Thank you, everyone else.
Thank you.
Have a good night, everyone.
Good night.